Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 80. Welcome to night 80 of Big Brother Season 23's Overnight Feeds Recap, and welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. A good Saturday morning to y'all. Do y'all realize this is the last Saturday of Big Brother Season 23? We are right there at the end. We now have our final three. We know the final three are going to be Xavier, Big D, and Azah. The only real question pretty much is who's going to join Xavier on the final two chair and who's going to win second place. This is Xavier's competition or season to lose at this point, or win, right? I guess more likely to win. Xavier's going to either finish first or third. If he makes it to the final two chairs, I just don't see any speech that doesn't give Xavier the victory. Something weird happens and Big D or Azah wins and takes the other one with him to the final two. That'd be a shocker. And that's the only way that Xavier doesn't walk out with the big check at the end. We're going to talk about that just a little bit. Who would take who? Just a real quick conversation as we talk about the live feeds. But there you have it. Now, before we get into the live feeds, we did have a little bit of a controversy that took place yesterday, and it has to do with the eviction that took place Thursday night. Now, as y'all probably recall, I'm guessing you may remember that Kyland didn't necessarily go out the happiest soul as he went out the door. He had a few choice words to the way Xavier played the game and some references to Xavier's nephew and not wanting to raise his nephew as a coward. That's some stuff that's a little below the belt, a lot below the belt. But not only that, what we also discover is that Big D is apparently as a way to make sure that Kyland knew how safe he was. Big D gave Kyland the ring that Big D got, I think, from his father as a class, or the ring he had as a class ring when he was in military school. Pretty important ring. It's got a lot of sentimental value. He gave it to Kyland and said, "Hey, hold on to this thing. It's just a way to prove that you aren't going anywhere. So let me give you the ring." Why would you do that, Big D? What you knew you're sending Kyland out the door, and so of course when he votes out Kyland. Kyland pockets the ring and walks right out the door with it. So now Big D was upset. He was talking about it yesterday saying, yeah, I can buy another one, but it's got sentimental value. And I can't believe he walked out with it. Nah, I got to say, I would, if someone gives me a ring and then they boot me anyway, I'm walking out the door with it. Now I give it back later. You don't hold on to it forever. And I expect Kyland will give it to Big D as well. Big D says he doesn't think he will. I think Kyland will give it back to him, but yeah, you're not getting the ring for the rest of the season if you do something like that, and it's me, Big D. But anyway, so we've got the whole controversy, the whole idea of the ring. My precious, everyone wants to hold on to this ring. So yeah, that was our controversy yesterday afternoon. From that, we go into the live feeds and we'll talk about a few interesting conversations. Not a whole lot. For the most part, Xavier put it this way. He said, we already know kind of how everything's going to happen at this point. Now we're just waiting for the ends of these competitions so we know who makes the decision to go to the final two. Until that point, we're just chilling, is what Xavier said. Yeah, he's right. And we're all chilling and we're all waiting as well, my friend. All right, so on to the feeds. Well, first of all, I haven't said this in forever, so let me say it for one last time. A new alliance is formed. Ding, 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 ding. Alert, alert, alert. A new alliance is formed. How do you get a new alliance when there's only 3 people in the house? Well, maybe it's not really a new alliance, but it's a formalization of the final two that Big D and Xavier have had since day 1 or 2 or whenever they formed it. They've decided that they never actually named their final two alliance, and they need to come up with a name for this. Does it really matter? Whatever name they come up with, it's too late in the season. No one's going to be using it. I don't even know how much it'll be mentioned on the show or anything else. We're not going to go through it. This season, we're going to talk about the Cookout Alliance. And maybe you'll hear some mention about the Slaughterhouse or something once or twice. But it's all going to be the Cookout Alliance. But they want this grand name because they think it'll create more of a legacy for them. Big D wants a name because, again, he wants to make sure that everyone knows and talks about this alliance from now on. He keeps saying, so next season they'll be talking about, hey, remember that amazing insert alliance name that we come up with. So that's why he wants to do it. Xavier's doing it because it's a good way to create some additional bonds with Big D. just in case Big D was the one to make that final two decision about who Big D wanted to drag along with him to the final two chairs. So Xavier is trying to make sure he stays on very good terms with Big D, just in case the unthinkable happens. And that would be unthinkable, wouldn't it? So that's why they're doing it. But now here's the thing. Does it matter if Big D wins the final competition? He gets to decide, does he want to take Azah or he gets to take Xavier to the final two. Would Big D really take Xavier with him to the final two instead of Azah and go up against a jury having drug Xavier into the final two? That would be incredible. That would be amazing. It would be amazing listening to Big D then doing his final two speech and talking about how he drug Xavier to a final two position. And I don't know. That would be an incredible turn of events. Obviously, we all think that he'd be much better off taking Azah, but Big D certainly acts as though if he had the chance, he would take Xavier along. Now, we thought it was kind of silly that Kylan would be willing to drag along the strongest player to face up against him and drag Xavier along. If Big D does the same thing and he was to drag Xavier along, wow, we'd be talking a bit, wouldn't we? Now, the reality is, what are the chances Big D's going to win the next two competitions and have that option? Well, we aren't going to see it, right? But it's fun to talk. We don't have a lot to talk about, so let's talk about the incredible, amazing, fun scenarios that may be out there. All right, so they spend forever trying to come up with the final two name. I'm literally they're talking for a couple hours on this stuff. They liked the creed. They had that figured out. That was going to be perfect. Apparently, Big Brother told him, saying, "Yeah, you can't use that because it's the movie, the Creed with Apollo Creed from the Rocky series and all." Apparently, they say you can't use the Creed. We didn't hear the conversation, but we hear them talking later saying, "Yeah, we were told we can't use it." They can't use the Creed for copyright reasons, which makes me kind of wonder. During my season 21, my alliance with Ovi and Nicole was the Fellowship of the Zing. Kind of surprised they let us use that, but I'm not complaining. Eventually, they keep throwing out different names. Eventually, it sounds like one of the names they maybe settle on is the Fist. They think the Fist has a lot of symbioology, and it would be a good one to use. Doesn't matter. No one's ever going to use that name. No one's ever going to talk about the name. It's all going to be about the Cookout Alliance for season 23. All right. We hear some conversation. Big D. Here's the thing. Anytime someone gets pulled to the diary room last night, the other two just start talking game. But there's not a lot of game to talk about. Big D is telling Xavier that Azah knows Big D and Xavier are final two. So she's not even really trying to break them up. She knows it. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows that Xavier's going to take Big D. Big D's going to take Xavier. Well, we'll see. And I guess there's always a possibility Azah wins the next two comps and she gets to decide who she drags along. And surely, I don't know, who would Azah take? Would she take Xavier as well? Is Xavier the most dominant player in the entire game? And yet he has the other two both thinking they're going to take him along if they have the chance. Incredible. Props to Xavier for doing whatever he did to get into this position. All right. We've got one comment. I couldn't leave this one alone. Big D is talking to Xavier and telling Xavier, saying, look, we ran a flawless game. We ran a better game than Cody and Enzo last season. Yeah. All right. He said it, not me. Big D's very proud of the game that they've played this season. Yeah. I just leave that right there. We lose feeds for a couple of hours. We come back to all three of them sitting around the table. Looks like they got some beers, alcohol, things like that. So they're all sitting around. Someone's drinking beer from a straw. I don't know who that was. I kind of laughed about that. But anyway, they got beers. They're just having fun. They're talking about the last competition, and Oz is talking about how hard it was to hold on. We still don't know exactly what that was. I guess we'll see on Sunday, but talking about how hard it was to hold on. They're looking at the memory wall. They're talking about all the different house guests. They throw out a word and see which house guest would they think matches that word best. Just non-game talk, just kind of reminiscing while they're in there. They're talking about, again, about past house guests. Xavier at one point says, look, if it wasn't for the Cookout Alliance, I would have stuck with my Team Kings to the very end. And we had a strong team, and we probably would have, most of us would have probably made it to at least Final Five. It would have been amazing to have that team as well. And he said, but because of Cookout, it didn't happen. Otherwise, I would have taken that team to the very end. The conversation continues about past strategies, how they handled people, how they little secret alliances, agreements they had that maybe the other two don't realize yet. So just a whole lot of rehashing of the season itself. Eventually, we do get Xavier and Azza cuddling very closely on the couch underneath a blanket. Xavier's going on and on with Big D earlier about an alliance and names, trying to bond with him. Now he's doing the same thing with Azza. Xavier's got this game in hand, but he's not taking any chances. He's going to make sure that he's got those connections just in case. And I agree with that. We got a lot of talk about dating and acting sexy, and they're trying to get Azza to act sexy and how she does it, and just having fun talking about that. Eventually, we do have Xavier and Big D in the yacht room talking, just the two of them. Xavier is encouraging Big D to win the next competition. He's saying, man, you win the next competition, so that's you and me in the final round to decide who picks it. He said, we're golden at that point. All you got to do is win this one competition, Big D, and we're final two, and that's it. We'll see. It's time for Big D to become the comp beast that we all know he is, right? And finish this thing up and grab that check and head out the door. Expect the unexpected. And finally, the plans for when they leave the house. They're thinking, they know they've just got a few days left. The house guests have slightly different plans from one another. Big D wants to go to an LA gay bar. That's his objective while he's in town. Azza wants to go to Harry Potter World. Yeah, it's a pretty different plans for outside the house, right? And Xavier, he just wants to get out the door, go home, and see his family. Xavier, I'm with you, my friend. You spent 86 days in the house. Go see your family. You can come out and see the rest of the stuff later. He's ready to see his family. Again, Big D, Azza, some slightly different plans. And there you have it, guys. The lights are off by 12:30 or so. And again, not a whole lot. Everything's set. It's all about these last couple of competitions. And we will see who gets to make the final decision, who gets to sit next to Xavier, it sounds like. And it's getting close. So there you go, guys. We'll shut it down. Y'all have a fantastic Saturday. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm sure everything will change. Nothing's going to change. We'll have some more conversations, talk some more about the conversations tomorrow. But until then, y'all have a fantastic Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Giga Maggies, play in Arkansas. Y'all have a great one, guys. Cheers, SKD 143. Bye, my friends.